reasonable number of chokes here as well. It is Cloud Kingdom, and Fnatic's Naama is the red Terran spawning in the bottom left-hand location. His opponent spawning as the blue Protoss in the top right-hand corner. The recipient of another Naama all-in that previous game, but holding it off with another batch of absolutely clutch storms. This guy is really fighting his way out of situations that look very hairy. Can he do it once more and win the show match? It is Fnatic's Harstem.
Literally, I want to... Now I've jailbroken my iPhone, do you think I can delete the weather app and just install Harstem's Twitter feed to let me know when it's stormy weather approaching?
I would.
Like, would that work? I think that's going to be far more reliable, I reckon. But yes, of course, this is now Game 8. And the real important thing, which everyone should know, is being a caster, I have to now root for Naama, because that means we get Game 9, and that makes me happy.
That's true. I'm also quite hungry, though.
I know, Jorasar's brain is like, come on Naama, Game 9.
I would root for Game 9, though, still. No, that would be really cool. I think, unfortunately, we've had, I want to say both players have had one thing about their play that's been a little bit stale. Throughout this best of 9, and you know, this is a very, very long evening. We can't blame them for it by any means. It's not like a big criticism at all. But Harstem has been going for effectively the same build, which has been really susceptible to these timing attacks from Naama. It has to be said. Naama has done a great job of opening up Harstem like a can of worms and potentially doing a lot of damage here. Naama's biggest weakness in this best of 9 is that once he goes in and does the damage, he then overextends into situations where a couple of storms absolutely destroys him. Imagine on Whirlwind, if he just left his tanks there, continued to build up Hellbats and Marines just as a group, killed off the third base, and just sat there. He didn't need to move in up the choke. Naama, it would be very difficult to envisage a situation where Naama couldn't have won that game. So both players making, I would say, one mistake consistently throughout the series, or if not a mistake, then something that could be improved on.
I completely agree with you. And imagine if on Star Station all the Vikings hadn't got stormed to death.
Yes, oh god, those were clutch as well.
Imagine on Akelon Wastes if he hadn't pushed into the third and the storms hadn't destroyed everything with the choke.
I'm noticing a bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, there's a trend here, definitely.
Oh my goodness. But you can't take credit away from Harstem, though. He's in a situation where he's backed against the wall. He has Storm as his weapon. He uses it, and he uses it unbelievably effectively. And that's happened in all three of those games. All games that Naama could have won. So Harstem, really the definition of clutch here in this series.
He's doing incredibly well. And of course, that has paid off for him, now being one game up. If he wins this game, he wins the show match. And he will be £125 better off. Which is not too bad for an evening's work.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. I'd quite enjoy that. And we have the Mothership Core and a Sentry fending off this SCV. He is not going to go up and scout what's going on. He's happy to see the Nexus there, wants to escape with his life. In the meantime, we have got... oh, wow. A Tech Lab going down on 3 very early barracks coming out from Naama. So he's not going for a faster factory in this game.
Nope. No fast factory, just still the same build though of Harstem. It's identical, every build, without fail.
Harstem has one build, and he's only needed to use it once.
And it's worked just over 50% of the time as well, so it seems to be going quite well for him.
Yep, statistically in the long run, it hasn't really failed him. So we'll see if he ends up making it work this time around as well. We have got the second and third gateways being added down. The Twilight Council should make an appearance shortly as well as the Robo finishes. And in the meantime, Naama, he's holding both watchtowers at the moment, not really scouting his opponent's main, but given the builds he's seen in this match so far, probably doesn't need to be too worried.
No, he should be fully aware of what Harstem's doing, may even blindly make a Ghost Academy. I'm glad, though, that Naama isn't going mech, because mech never works for him. Let's just face it.
Yeah, that's... well, mech hasn't worked very well for him in this series. Is it 4? How many times has he gone mech?
Well, considering he's lost 4 games, I'm going to go with 4 times.
Was it 4 or 3? I think he might have lost one game.
It's at least 3.
At least 3, yeah. And Well, we can see in this particular case he's really not doing that. Oh, and once again, supply block just a little bit, but should be able to get out of it fine compared to the previous games. Stim is on the way, now getting that factory. I assure you that is not for mech. He's going to be putting down the starport very quickly afterwards. He's just going to want to get that medevac production up ASAP, and we're going very much bio-style here.
And bio-style would be complemented by some mines. I'm surprised Naama hasn't used mines yet.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. I mean, Marines and Widow Mine's very, very good in the early game, just denying a little bit of scouting. If a Mothership Core decides to be quite offensive and you have a couple of mines in a great location, that's always a huge setback. Things like that, rather than just pushing up into your face, which you might do against a Zerg player, for instance, it's just things to try and catch your opponent maybe by a little bit if they're Protoss, and I wouldn't mind seeing them from Naama at all.
Also, the other thing is they one-shot High Templar, if I'm not mistaken.
That's pretty useful as well. Although
that would be.
I have to say though, Harstem's been very careful with his High Templars. I don't recall that many situations where he's had a bunch of High Templars just floating about in front of the army.
Apart from last game, where he's had that suicidal High Templar that decided to run in front of everyone.
That guy had issues, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he didn't take his medication this morning. That's all we know. Moment of silence for that poor High Templar.
But aside from that, he's actually had the High Templars usually behind the army and storming mid-battle as opposed to storming to start the battles off. So very careful with them there is Harstem overall. And as a result, something that can be a little bit more difficult to exploit. Now we see Naama posturing towards the third base, just wanting to make sure a third Nexus hasn't gone down sneakily early or anything like that. He has not. And Harstem's going to be retreating into the natural here. He will need the energy on that Mothership Core for the planetary nexus and a couple of force fields to try and split this army in half if he comes in.
The really good thing from Harstem, though, he's gone back to putting observers everywhere. So he saw that movement up into the third base, and that's why he pulled back. And these observers are just critical to make sure the drops aren't effective, to make sure that he knows what his opponent is doing. But currently, Naama, he's just busy getting down combat shield. He's currently see Harstem hallucinating a Phoenix yet again to get good scouting information. But these two are both being relatively passive this game, but I think that's going to end shortly with this double drop coming in from Naama.
Yep, a Psionic Storm on the way as well, reasonably quick. They're already a quarter of the way through a research, and Harstem sees with that observer those two medevacs coming into the main base, immediately pulling his army back in, a decent number of zealots. And here we go, the drop's going down. The cannon is going to get targeted down first, just in time for this army to pop back. The planetary nexus popping down, and approximate damage done, one worker this game. Not great, but we have an army coming into the natural metals.
This is, well, a good little push into the natural base. There's not much here. The Nexus Cannon is activated, and suddenly this infantry forced back a little bit. A cancel force at the third base, though. That in itself is a little bit frustrating. The factory just scouting nothing right now, because that's a good place to scout. And this probe is not going to have too much fun if it does go and try and plant down that third yet again. Oh, no, it will be fine. It goes back. The army moves back.
Yeah, and actually, it's very cute of Harstem to actually move forward with those High Templars with the army as well, making Naama head back. Bear in mind, Psionic Storm finished about 3 seconds ago, so we didn't actually have any storms available, but it was enough to make Naama think twice just in case it was there. You can never be sure, and as a result, Harstem's going to try and secure his third.
Now, of course, Harstem now with Storm, is this the moment where Naama just goes GG?
I hope not. I mean, this might be a moment when Naama pushes up a ramp and we get some ridiculous storms, and that ends up a GG. But Naama does have a couple of ghosts with this army this time. He's being quite cautious. Mobius Reactor is halfway done as well, so he'll be able to get a decent amount of energy off on the subsequent ghosts too. And has Harstem Scouting spotted that this army's coming up the natural? Yes, it has.
Observers everywhere being so beneficial. The Mothership Core does not have enough energy for another photon overcharge. This infantry really committing in here in a nice position, though, trying to reduce the
High
effect.
Templars! They're at the back. They're still at the third.
They haven't come back. They're wandering. They're coming as quickly as they can, but boost out of there. Good amounts of damage done there. Looking at the resources lost, Harstem only losing about 300 more resources over this game so far, though. So could definitely be more effective. Naama really trying to secure his third base, trying to stay in economically. The worker count 55 each, so very, very close. But Mules will tip that in the Terran favor.
Harstem pulled the High Templars back about 5 seconds after the rest of the army came to the natural. If the High Templars went at the same time, I think that he might have been able to get at least one storm off while the medevacs were still picking units up, and possibly picked off a few of those medevacs. That could have been game-changing, really, at that point, but just a little bit of a delay denying him that chance.
Yeah, this is, well, pretty tough now for both players, because neither one wants to lose the next engagement, because once you start getting to the 15-minute mark plus, if you lose your army, you tend to lose the game, unless you have storms available.
And here we go, Naama's going to try and snipe off the third, because this army on the left coming up the ramp metals hasn't been scouted by Harstem. He doesn't know that's there. He only see the army moving up the natural. So he's going to try and pull it out of position. Two armies coming in at once. Oh, and an excellent storm against that one over at the third, but the natural is being targeted down at the same time. Is this going to be enough? Do we have another storm? The third Nexus simultaneously being targeted down. Not a great split of the army. And, oh my god, the Nexus so low hit points. There we go, finally going down. But at what cost? Are we going to be able to pick apart the third as well? No, the Stellar Warpin will be enough.
I think that was definitely worth it there. Great little push in by Naama, pushing at the third and the natural at the same time, forcing Harstem to try and decide which way to go. And that moment of indecision just meant that the natural Nexus is down. So that basically leaves just 2 mining bases for Harstem at the moment to 3 of Naama, with his 4th command center just getting started. As long as he can hold off the counter aggression, he should be in a great spot now.
Harstem needs to go now to kill off the third base of Naama. He needs to do it right now. And he cannot wait a moment longer. We actually have 2 more medevacs coming in towards the third base location. Oh, and Harstem actually spots them as well. So he knows to warp a couple of units in. He's got some a Zealot and a High Templar popping in here. Is it going to be enough? Not just yet. A couple more units, though, should make that okay. And now he's going in at the third base.
And the infantry is doing quite a nice job. There's no medevacs to be seen, though, so stimming has to be so cautious. There's so many Protoss units here. The rest of the army of Naama pushing in towards the third, but a great storm deals a lot of damage. We do have some ghosts here trying to do as much as possible. The 4th command center is going to go down. Repairs going down on this orbital command. Naama knows he needs to try and save it, but he is not going to be able to. And it does fall. Another good storm. Harstem is pushing forward. He has now got a monumental supply advantage. He's dealt with the drop in his third base, and he is just pushing forward, potentially for the win here.
Single Marine left of that drop in the third base. Mothership Core going to take care of that. Naama needed that drop to do substantial amounts of damage. He knew that he sacrificed a lot of his army to pick apart the natural expansion of Harstem, and that the counter-attack would be quite big. But I'm not sure he appreciated it would be quite this big, and as a result, I think Harstem here is going to close it out and take this best of 9 series in game number 8, 5-3. Naama pulling out SCVs now. Harstem looking to close out.
Yeah, he's pushing forward. The SCVs are dying. Of course, this is Naama's trademark, pulling workers, but I don't even think that can save him right now. If we look at the army supply, it is 82-43 in Harstem's favor. Harstem has re-secured his natural base now, so is mining off of 3 bases to just 2 of Naama. And of course, Naama is probably nearly mined out at his main base. The barracks is going to fall. A couple of infantry units trying their best, but so many Zealot storms going down on the SCVs as well, and things are looking pretty scary.
Ghost on the high ground in a pretty good position. Oh, and once again, a storm in a choke point makes me cringe, because that has been the story of this series, and Naama frantically trying to hold on those ghosts, the guardians of the natural expansion, but the damage output just isn't quite enough. If there was another storm right now at Harstem's disposal, but there isn't, I don't even think it's going to matter. They're 145 supply to 89, and unfortunately it's just a matter of time here before Naama taps out.
It is just a matter of time now. Naama, he is pushing this back, but he's just not got enough stuff here. There's no way he can hold this off. There's just an endless stream of units coming out from Harstem, desperately trying to float down his main to the third, because at this stage, when you are in the ace match, you might as well just take this sort of risk, because without doing it, you're definitely going to lose. By doing this, the worst that will happen is you will also lose.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, actually. He needs to try and take risks to stay in this game, but he's just behind by so much right now, it's not really possible. We have more High Templars coming out, they're going to have storms available, and once that happens in a couple more choke points, I think this is going to spell curtains here for Naama. He's fought an incredible series, he's given us some very entertaining games, and he's gotten ahead by 2 games at one point, but he is going to fall back out at this.
Yeah, this is definitely, or 99.9% sure, going to be Harstem's game. He's got these charge slots, he's got the Archons, and he's got the Immortal at the back. And here we go. This could potentially be the final engagement of the night. The infantry trying to get in the safest spot possible. Some good EMPs go down, but a couple of High Templars do still have energy. One storm is still remaining, and there it goes down. So much of the infantry, and Naama not even pulling back.
That is actually like close to the perfect storm there. This is disgusting. And the amount of damage output from this Protoss army is overwhelming. The SCVs will not be able to make a sizable difference. Naama down to 60 supply versus the 162 of Harstem, who has come back from 2 games down to win this best of 9 series. All the medevacs going down to the Archons as well. Congratulations, GG, and Harstem wins 5-3.